Welcome to Encountering the World's Religions. We're really glad that you have joined us for this class. I don't know if you now have been through other courses. Typically, this would be the second course for the second round of classes. And so I don't know if you're joining us brand new. If you are, you're welcome, and we're really glad to see you and have you. My name is Don Hudson, and I will be teaching this course. I'll be working with you almost every time that you see someone or hear someone on like a screencast. That should be me. And then I'll also be looking at your quizzes and exams and grading your papers, etc. So again, it's really good to have you. If this is your first time, feel free to contact me at any point. I try to answer all of my emails within 24 hours. Doesn't always happen, but don't feel like you are a bother. I'm here to help you, and so always send me an email, or you can also see my number on the syllabus, my phone number. You can text me, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. For some of you now, this may be like your fifth class, and you've seen me before. You came in and you took Bible Study That Matters. And so we're going to continue on in many ways. If you've had me before, you kind of know how this works. I actually am taking the same model that I use for Bible Study That Matters, and I'm going to use it for Encountering the World's Religions. Now, obviously, a very different topic. And if Bible Study That Matters focused on Christianity, Judeo-Christianity to be more specific, but it focused on interpreting the Christian scriptures, and we definitely came from a Christian worldview. Now, as we move into, if you will, a global perspective, I'm still going to come from a Christian worldview, coming from a Reformed Christian worldview, but we're going to look at other religions. Now, as we get into this, and especially this first week, let me give you an introduction to, or if you will, a flyover of what we're going to do in the 5 weeks. But let me first of all give you a bit of a perspective and more of a philosophy of where I'm coming from. There are some people who will teach this class, Encountering the World's Religions, and they come from a Christian perspective. And they see this course as a time to teach Christianity apologetically. Now, let me explain what that means. That doesn't mean, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a Christian. That's not what apology means here. In this term, apology means to defend Christianity. And so there are some professors who would teach this class, and they would teach it in such a way to say that Christianity is right and Buddhism is wrong. And not only that, but here's how to witness to a Buddhist, or Hinduism is wrong and here's how to witness to a Hindu. There's nothing wrong with that. But in my mind, I see that as happening more in a seminary or graduate school context. Here at King, obviously, we come from a Christian worldview. And again, as I said, I'm coming from a Christian worldview. But I'm not here to show you that these religions are wrong. All right? Do I think they are wrong? Yes, I do. And do I place myself within the Christian tradition for many reasons? Absolutely. But I want us to approach this academically. That's the word. In many regards, I'm going to come to Hinduism, and that'll be the first religion that we study. We'll come to Hinduism, and let's try to understand Hinduism for what it is. And let's try to understand why someone would be Hindu. Why would they believe in Dharma, and why do they turn to karma? And Hinduism is the world's oldest religion, or at least surviving religion, possibly 5,000 years old. So why do Hindus do what they do? In many regards, and I'll talk about this a little bit, but we're going to look at what is the function of a religion. Not only where does it come from, but why do people practice this? And we're going to approach this academically. So in many regards, what am I trying to say here? I want you to keep an open mind. Not in the sense of all religions, from my perspective, are right. Again, I don't think that. But I want you to keep an open mind in the way that seeks to understand what's going on with this religion. You may think a certain religion is just ridiculous. Okay, that's fine. But have you really gone and tried to understand why someone practices or holds to this religion? So even as we come to this class, I want you to think about what would it mean to approach these religions academically, not apologetically. All right, that's going to be very important, and that's going to be my approach. The second area that we need to understand as we get into this, and you'll see this as you get into the first week, I have you looking at a screencast of a PowerPoint that is called An Introduction to the Study of Religion. Now, look at that very carefully. It's not necessarily just an introduction to religion. It's an introduction to the study of religion. And so, as you'll hear me say later this week in this screencast, basically, I'm going to say that religion as something that we study objectively. You remember that word from Bible Study That Matters. As we study religion, the concept of religion, the act of religion, as we study that, in many ways, that's about 250 years old. This is, in many ways, religion is not the new kid on the block, but the study of religion is the new kid on the block. And so one of the first things I want you to understand is, even as we talk about encountering the world's religions, we have to go back and even think about what religion means. And then how do we study it? And so, for instance, is it better, say we're going to study Hinduism. Is it better to understand Hinduism from an insider or an outsider? And you can kind of see that there would be great benefits to hearing from an insider, but there would also be benefits from hearing an outsider. All right? So if we hear someone who is actually Hindi or Hindu, then we would probably confront someone who has grown up in this religion. They know the little details, the ins and the outs of this religion, but also they're squarely within this religion and they're biased toward their religion. All right? An outsider is someone who is standing outside and in many ways, without judging, is just trying to understand, again, what is this religion? Why do people practice this? And what is the best, and I really want you to focus on this word. We're going to hear this all week and all semester. What is the right method for studying religion? And so even though the study of religion is quite new, 250 years, again, that's coming up later in the PowerPoint, even though that's, as I've said, new kid on the block, essentially I want you to know that most people in the 21st century, those who study religion from an outsider perspective, they're using a particular methodology. And so, for instance, if we're listening to an insider, all right, they're not that objective, and that is a good thing and it's a bad thing. But they are not objective. They're not standing apart from their own religion. Well, many theorists of religion, those who study religion, say that essentially you need something that helps us distance ourselves from that religion to understand it. And there is where they bring in the idea of a methodology. And so, for instance, there are many people who study religion. They're not even religious, but they study religion. You can go to the University of Chicago, you can go to Harvard, you can go down to University of Alabama. All of these schools have great departments in religious studies. Well, many of them are studying religion and they're studying it from the perspective of why do human beings do this. They're not religious, they're just trying to understand religion as a cultural artifact. And so, for instance, they will say, you need to have this particular methodology. So you need to have anthropology to understand religion. Or there are others who are sociologists, and of course they would say you need to have sociology. So this may be a little confusing here in the beginning, but don't get discouraged. Hopefully I'll explain that in the PowerPoint. But I want you to start thinking about a couple of things even as we get started. Number one, how do we define religion? And then number two, how do we study religion? And how do we study it in such a way that we can really understand what's going on? And of course, this becomes very important for those of us who are in the Christian faith. That's important for us to understand other religions. It's important now as we are in a global century. And so that's one of the reasons why we see this class as being so important. But it's also important to understand because in many ways, religion has become such a thorny topic in our generation. In 1968, Peter Berger, a famous sociologist, still alive to this day, he is a theorist of religion. He brings sociology to religion. He said that religion really would be dead in the 21st century. Well, wow, did he get that wrong? Again, a great scholar. But in many ways, look how relevant religion is. I mean, you look at Christian fundamentalism, you look at Islamic fundamentalism, you look at almost every day, the news is really infused with something that is pertains to religion or is religious. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as human beings, in particular here at King, as Christians, to understand religion, to understand the religious impulse, and then to try to really comprehend what's going on when someone says, I'm religious, and how do we study that?